Hello and welcome again to the first info session for the Brilliant Blue Challenge for the year of 2025. We are super excited to have you here. This is the third year in a row that we do this, and we're very excited to have new partners in doing so. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce our superstar, and I
Yeah.
call her a superstar mayor because we're in a very, very unique position to have someone who is currently helping us organize the Brilliant Blue Challenge for 2025, who used to be a contestant, who participated as a student, who had a team, who made a project, and who went through the entire process to talk us through it from both our perspective at Brilliant Blue and Brilliant Labs, but also from the student and mentor perspective. Whenever you're ready, Mayor, we are ready for you. Please take the stage.
Perfect. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm just going to share my screen really quickly because I have a little bit of a slideshow to show you all. Let me know if that's visible to you. All good? Perfect. Okay. Perfect. All right. So, like Rashid said, my name is Mayar, and I was a student whose team placed in the first inaugural competition back in 2023. So, I just first of all wanted to welcome you all to being here in the first information session for the Brilliant Blue Challenge. So, the main purpose of today's information session is just to provide a bit of an insight onto what the Brilliant Blue Challenge is and how teachers and other supporters can aid their students in participating in a challenge like the Brilliant Blue Challenge. So let's first begin by giving a brief introduction on what Brilliant Labs is and what they do. So Brilliant Labs is an Atlantic Canadian charity that supports youth and educators as well as community leaders. And it focuses on creativity, innovation, digital skills, and socially and environmentally responsible entrepreneurship. So this is all in hopes of having a future where youth that help shape a better tomorrow. And as you can see, there's a bit of statistics on what Brilliant Labs does. And then now let's look about what the Brilliant Blue Challenge is. So the Brilliant Blue Challenge is a global STEM competition that focuses on ocean industries. So it helps connect youth with academia and industry, of course. And the three main goals of the Brilliant Blue Challenge are to empower youth, support ocean industries, and contribute to the blue economy. So, like I said, in December 2023, we had the inaugural competition for the Brilliant Blue Challenge, and it was held in a virtual format. So, we had 22 teams, 99 students, and it consisted of 14 countries. So, it was a very big global scale competition. During the inaugural competition, the Brilliant Labs received a strong industry support from organizations such as InnovaSea and Cook Aquaculture. And as you can see on the screen as well, there's a little bit more of the sponsors that were there to help during the inaugural competition. So now I decided to go through a bit of a diagram to show how one can participate in a challenge like the Brilliant Blue Challenge. I also wanted to emphasize that in 2025, there will be a national and an international competition. So yeah, let's just begin with the first step, which is to attend an information session, which all of you are here today. So that's one step into the process. And the next step for the competition consists of forming a team of 2 to 5 students and 1 to 2 advisors. One advisor from experience I feel like is good for a team of 2 to 5 students. The next step after that would be to register and then choose a category. I'll break down the categories in just a second, but once you register, you will fill out a registration form, and then you'll state what category you are, what your team is, and how many students consist in that team. And then, of course, you're working on a solution along the way that you will be finally presenting in the national or international competition whenever that may land. So for the national, it will be in June. And then for the international competition, it will land in the fall season, so around October of this year. So now a lot of teachers are here today. So let's discuss a bit about the role of a teacher and the role of a teacher advisor and what they're meant to aid with. So I've broken it down into 3 parts. And I decided to say that one of the main goals, roles, sorry, of a teacher advisor is to monitor the progress and check in with their students or their team. So check in with the students. Your students can be as young as a junior high student, so it's probably their first time partaking in an international or national competition, and so being there for them and supporting them and checking in as well as motivating them is very crucial. Another thing that I also wanted to emphasize on was that you're almost the source of communication. It's like you're the stepping stone between the communication with Brilliant Labs and Brilliant Blue and your team. So whenever there's any questions, they are almost given through you to the Brilliant Labs team to be able to be answered. And then lastly, so a mentor and a guider. So encouraging creativity and providing feedback to your team is very crucial. And yeah, feedback is very important, being able to succeed in a competition like this for your team. And then now let's talk a bit about a timeline of what is expected from now until the competition day. So I would like to focus more on what tasks need to be submitted alongside your journey in preparing for the competition, the national or the international in June or October. So after you register, you are required to choose a category from the three, and I will present them right after this slide. Yeah, so you will choose a category and then you will your team will submit that proposal that is due shortly after you um, register. So that proposal will consist of what the team's project is, what category it is, and some other brief proposal questions. And then there's also a project logbook that is due shortly before the competition, and that also goes along with a business plan and a prototype presentation that are presented during the conference day. And now let's look at the categories that I've been talking a lot about. So the competition is broken down into three categories that your team can pick from. So we have marine renewable energy, marine autonomous systems, and healthy marine life. So marine renewable energy is where your team will conceptualize a power generator that is environmentally friendly. And then marine autonomous systems is the category where your team will create a system that helps explore the depths of the ocean. And then healthy marine life is where your team will develop a solution that improves life of our oceans around the world. So now let's talk a bit about what support is offered from the Brilliant Labs and Brilliant Blue team. So I just decided to summarize a little bit about each thing that I could think of that was offered as support. So it begins with competition guides that are given to each team once they register. So these guides are very thorough. It's a huge document that gives you that answers every question that you might have in your beginning steps. And of course, if there's any other questions, you can reach out to the Brilliant Blue team. So in the competition guide, those are embedded within the resource pages, and there's a resource page for each competition category. And within that, you can find useful templates like judging rubrics for each category in order to ensure that your team is following the guidelines for each category for when you're presenting to judges. And then there's also industry resources like a list of mentors that you can reach out to in order to get expert advice. And then there's also one last thing that I want to talk about, which is project funding. So for Atlantic Canadian teams, a really cool opportunity is that there's project funding that will be offered. So if you are an Atlantic Canadian team, definitely reach out and information will be given out to you about the project funding that is offered. And then now let's look at, sorry, one second. There we go. Now I'm going to be connecting everything that I just thrown at you in a firsthand experience, which is my experience and my team's experience in the inaugural competition. So my team and I created a project called the Sea Hive, and our team was called the Micro Sea Solutions. So during the rest of the presentation, I'm just going to be talking a bit about what experiences and recognition my team received, as well as how we made it happen. So what steps did we take to reach that final goal? Yeah, so I'm just going to give you a bit of a background about what my project is. I'm not going to go into depths too much. But so yeah, as I said, our project was called the Sea Hive. It was a micro ecosystem that aimed to enable the use of multi-trophic aquaculture and aiding in the decrease of seafood in our province. So it also aided in the accessibility to healthy seafood for our community, which is a coastal city. And the Sea Hive, it consisted of two controlled compartments. It's at the bottom there and at the top. So it had two compartments, one that contained only seaweed and that contained seaweed and mussels. And after tweaking a little bit with the exchange rates and things like that, we were able to see that there was a proven water quality difference in the side with the mussels and seaweed as compared to the side without the seaweed and the external water. We also did a lot of tests to prove our theory. So we conducted tests like CO2 levels testings, oxygen levels, alkalinity, nitrate and nitrite levels. We looked at concentrations of organic molecules and metal compounds. And then we also used sensors and Pascal probes to assess the water quality. And we also looked at refractometers, measurements, and things like that to enhance our theory when we're presenting our project. So now let's break down the steps that my team took to reach that final goal. So in the first beginning steps, we were contacted by a teacher who was at our high school, and he reached out saying that there was this opportunity and that he would love to be our teacher advisor. So we got this group of 3 students together, and without the help of our supervisor, it wouldn't have been possible. So that was very crucial. He helped us with registering for the competition, and then we met in early August. So this was during the summer for us. And we just decided to discuss a bit about what we wanted to approach in this challenge. And I just want to also give you a bit of a time frame. So in the 2023 competition, when my team competed, the registration process began in July, and we connected in August, and the competition took place in December. So we had about a 4 month time period to prepare, and I felt like it was a good amount of time to prepare for a competition, and get our project up and rolling to present during the competition day. And yeah, so we met in August. We didn't really have anything concrete yet until school started, which was around mid September. So we began doing a bit of research, and then we chose our category, filled out the proposal form, and then began creating our prototype. And we also additionally split up the workload. So there's all the documentations I mentioned earlier, like the business plan, the logbook, the presentation. We split that up, and then made sure everything was done and submitted during a timely manner. And then in addition to that, we also use the resources like the connecting with experts and professionals and mentors. So we connected with a mentor and a professional in the field that we had questions about. And that mentor really helped us in preparing our final project and answering any questions that we were uncertain about. And then finally, we waited for the big day and decided to practice our presentation and prepare our prototype for the competition date. Now, let's look at what happened after the competition and what recognition did my team receive. So, my team is more than thankful that we did receive lots of recognition and recognition from the community as a whole. So, we were contacted initially by Cook Aquaculture, who gave us a facility tour, as you can see in the left picture right there. We got a tour of all their facilities in Nova Scotia, and it was a great experience and a very engaging experience that was truly meaningful. And then we also had an opportunity to go on CBC News and discuss our accomplishments with the Brilliant Blue Challenge. And it felt like a once in a lifetime opportunity to really discuss the accomplishments that my team achieved in the challenge. And then fast forward 6 months after the competition, my team decided to really want to enhance our project and continue it forward. So we decided to apply for external scholarships and other opportunities for funding and grants. So we did apply for a couple, and the one that we did end up getting was very helpful, and it was a very prestigious scholarship that helped us enhance our project. And we were lucky to be congratulated by the Lieutenant Governor for winning this award, and it did help enhance our project and hopefully continue to enhance it as the time goes. And then last but not least, I remained connected with the Cook Aqua team, and I was able to land a summer internship with them for 4 months during last summer, actually. And it was a very exciting and amazing experience to be able to see how these professionals work in their day-to-day life, and being able to work alongside them was a very, very great privilege. And it was wonderful to gain that hands-on experience that not many people get today, especially at my young age. And then lastly, I also wanted to emphasize the fact that I wouldn't have been able to get that connection with Cook Aquaculture if they didn't recognize me and my team through the Brilliant Blue Challenge. So there's that perk of it as well. Like when your community, there is lots of recognition that you will receive, which is very wonderful and meaningful. And then lastly, just a couple of housekeeping things that I wanted to discuss. I already mentioned a couple of future possibilities, and then I gave you my experience for it. But the main thing I wanted to emphasize on was the Global Collaborative Hub. So, because the competition is usually international and it's the first time we're holding national competitions for the Brilliant Blue Challenge, it's very crucial to understand and have that goal in the back of your head that you want to participate in the international competition that is coming up in the fall. And that's in order to connect with other students and professionals in a bigger and a wider scale. And being able to network in this field is very crucial. And it's super helpful once you do compete in those two competitions. And then that's all I have really for today on my end. So I'm now going to open the floor for any questions that you might have. And yeah, thank you so much for being here today. And I really do look forward to hopefully seeing you all with your teams for our national competitions in June. And I also wanted to emphasize that registration is now open on our end. So if I will post a link in the chat now, but on the website, you can now sign up for your team and register for the competition in June.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Mayor.
Thanks.
I I just wanted to add before we go into the Q&A. This is the third year that we do Brilliant Blue. I've hosted it 2 years in a row, and it's always been mind-blowing watching the ideas that the teams come up with, the solutions they come up with for problems, the way that they work together, the way they collaborate, the way that teams cheer other teams on. There's a lot that can be gained, learned, and that happens in this space. And the bigger that we get, the more impact that we have, then the more of these future goals that Mayor was talking about that we can achieve. So we're very excited that everyone is here to help us do that. And please, if you have any questions, um, feel free to ask them either in the chat if you don't feel comfortable speaking with the rest of us, or feel free to just unmute yourself and ask your question. But I am here to moderate so that no one's question goes missed. Also on the call with us, I have to introduce Sir Omar Hussein. He is the director of the Brilliant Blue Challenge. And we have Mr. Jeff Wilson, who is the director of Brilliant Labs. So we have pretty much everyone on the team who works on this here with us to answer your questions. Okay,
Yes, can.
Susan is asking if we can go back to the time frame.
Was it this slide right here, Susan?
Yes, that's perfect.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so this timeline is what we have set in terms of when things need to be submitted or start to be submitted. We have found over the past 2 years that because we've been operating internationally, some international teams tend to be a little more behind on getting the documentation done. So we usually have a start date and then we have a cutoff point because at some point we have to kind of start organizing the teams in the competition and we can't just keep accepting applications and documents. So with that being said, this is the time frame that we are operating with, but it will be updated and there will be more detail to be shared as we go through this process.
Yeah. More specific dates. The date for the final competition is set will be made for all these deadlines and they will be shared with registered teams.
Okay, Astrinos is asking about, will the international competition be held in virtual form or any of the three categories? This year we're going to be doing, I think, a hybrid model. We've done it twice so far virtually. We want to bring people together. in the same space, because just collaboration in the same space is different. I've seen it. People running around asking for an Allen wrench and someone just hands it to them. It's a completely different experience. Um, but with the logistics of that, we're doing a hybrid model this year. So there will be a portion in Canada for the teams that can attend in person, and then there will be the virtual participation from the international team.
Yep. And yes, all three categories will be held in one competition. So it will be hybrid, and teams will be able to choose which category they want to participate in for coming in person or doing it virtually.
You are welcome to stream. Any other questions? Any other questions that you anticipate your students might have? Okay, Mayor, I have to ask you actually, as someone who's done both, participated and organized, what has been the most rewarding part of this for you?
I think the most rewarding part would have to be the competition day. Just going back to that day and like remembering how me and my two other people, two other friends that were part of my group, were just running around that day, making sure everything was good, anticipating when we'll be presenting. Being on the platform and just waiting was very, very exciting. It was nerve wracking for sure, but it was very, very exciting. And it was just super um, exciting. And it felt so good once we were done and when we were getting asked all these questions. And then, of course, the recognition afterwards is just, it was amazing. And it was so helpful. And it was really helpful. And it felt great to be acknowledged for something that we were doing. And then, yeah, those two things I would say are the
Thank
best.
you. Mary is asking about what the age range for the students is.
Yeah. So,
So
yeah, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Okay. The age range would be around like a junior high student to a high school student. So around grade 7 and grade 12 would be the range. We did have teams of younger ages before. Um, we've had elementary students participate before, but around junior high and high school would be the time range. That is what most people participate in.
So for this year, we're focusing on ages 15 to 18, but the program is open to students from 12 to 18. And the competition will most likely be in the first week of June.
Hmm.
We do not have a confirmed venue for sure in Canada. We are currently in talks to finalize a venue for Mary, who's asking about where the competition will be held. What skills should students have entering the program? So, Maya, as someone who's gone through this process, what skills do you wish you had before you started that you didn't know that you needed? So let's start with that, and then we can talk about kind of like basic requirements.
Yeah, the biggest skill I would say is because it's a group project, communication was very important. If we didn't communicate during that time when we were off from school, it would have been very hard to meet all the deadlines. So communicating with your team, making sure that your team advisor or teacher advisor, sorry, is very there to help and update you on the deadlines was super important. So yeah, communication was key. Um, Organization was super important. You have lots of documentation that you need to submit, lots of things to update on your logbook that you should probably do in a timely manner so you don't forget them. Yeah, those two skills. I do think, although I didn't have them fully, I did end up possessing them at the end and making sure that I had them to complete the project with my team.
And now we get to take advantage of those skills to make better competitions for the next cohort.
Yes.
So, so Astrinos is asking how marine autonomous systems would be presented in virtual form. So, Astrinos, in the past, what we've usually had is that students present their prototype, and they show us either recorded tests that they have done, or they do little demonstrations, be it in the classroom or in the lab, wherever they are, to kind of just show us a proof of concept. That's in terms of the presentation during the competition. In terms of the judging, it's very much the same thing. The judges will ask their questions to assess the team's kind of ability to understand and demonstrate the work that they did. But it's very doable virtually.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember last competition we did have lots of teams open their camera and show their actual prototype, and then we also had
mhm.
other teams that would present their idea of the prototype and go through that instead of um, showing the prototype in action. So either way works. But yeah, we did have many successful teams in that category be able to do it in a virtual form.
So again, for people who are interested in attending the competition in Canada, the competition will be held in Nova Scotia, and the venue and exact date of the competition will be posted on our Brilliant Labs website under the Brilliant Blue Challenge page. So please stay tuned and always make sure that our messages to you are not going to spam, so that in case we need to update you with anything.
Yeah, and that
Um,
goes the same for the international as well. So, although it's a hybrid format, it will still be held in Nova Scotia for the in-person part of it.
yeah.
Um,
So going back to Susan's question about what skills should students have entering the program. So we said communication is good, organization is good. Let's talk hard skills. So math, coding, all of that. What level do we think students need to be at? What support are we also providing?
Sorry, what was that?
And how much of that support are we able to provide? I mean, we do have a list of mentors that the teams can reach out to and ask for advice and pose their questions.
Yeah. So any hard skills like coding, a lot of the teams did need to code for parts of their project. Um, you don't need that skill coming into the competition. My team didn't have to go through any coding at all. Um, but yeah, if you do feel like your team does need that skill, then I'm sure that Brilliant Blue team, myself and the rest of them, would be more than happy to find resources and ways that we can help in order for the students to learn those skills.
Susan, I hope that answered your question. Also, Mary's asking if there's funding available for students to get to the competition. Um, for more details about funding, please get in touch privately, because that is currently being handled by someone else who's neither me nor Mayor, and they have more information. They'd be able to point you in the right direction.
Yeah. So I did mention a little bit in the presentation. There is for Atlantic Canadian students. There is funding opportunities. So yeah, if your team does qualify for that one, definitely reach out to Omar, who is in this call, or anyone under the Brilliant Labs team that will be able to assist you with that. Yeah.
All right, and Susan is offering her help if anyone on here is from Newfoundland or Labrador. You can reach out to her if she can be in help of any help. Anyone else? Any questions? You're welcome, Mary. Okay, going once, can also get updates on socials. Yes, so please make sure that you're following us on social media. We are actually, I want to mention this. We are, as Mayar has mentioned, creating kind of like a global collaboration hub. It'll be our own little social media network, but we're not quite there yet. So until then, please make sure to follow us on our social media.